Hello, my name is Fred David. This is Forrest David. We're co-authors of this strategic management textbook published by Prentice Hall. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for studying strategic management. We'd like to talk with you a couple of minutes about the EFE and the CPM Matrix in Chapter 3. Forrest, what are a couple of points that students need to be especially mindful of in developing an EFM Matrix?
Well, one of the first points I would suggest is make sure your opportunities are external in nature. For example, never have an opportunity that's a strategy. It's easy to say we have an opportunity to expand into Europe, but since we have internal control over this, it's a strategy. So what is the opportunity? Maybe if we're Under Armour, maybe clothing sales in Europe among teenagers are up 5%. That's the opportunity.
Absolutely, and with regard to opportunities, make sure they're external. You realize the underlying external opportunities and threats are vitally important in strategic management. And these external opportunities and threats in an EFM, they need to be actionable, that is forward-thinking and insightful and give implications towards the recommendations. They need to be specific and they need to be quantitative. And they need to be divisional if possible.
That's a great point. And by specific, what we're talking about here, let's for example say our competitor's current ratio is 2.0. Well, that's a great current ratio for the competitor. They're extremely liquid, and that's a significant threat for us. But instead of listing that as a threat, try to find out where the company's assets are. Do they have great assets in India or China? What is driving that current ratio to be a 2.0? That's a much better threat to list than just say the current ratio is 2.0.
And make sure that your ratings on an EFE matrix are a 1, 2, 3, or 4, anywhere up and down that column, because a 4 means the firm is responding fantastically regarding that factor, and a 1 means the firm is not responding very good at all. So even threats can have a 4 all the way to a 1 and with regard to rating. Now, Forrest, in terms of students actually delivery aspects of this matrix, what are a couple of points?
Well, in any presentation, we're pressed for time, so we can't go through each individual threat or opportunity. So I suggest pick out 1 or 2 of each, possibly the ones with the largest weight, meaning you've indicated them to be the most important, and comment on them. In particular, if your competitor is a large threat in a couple areas, mention what you're going to do to counter that threat.
Okay, absolutely. So in the delivery of an EFM matrix, make sure you don't teach the class with regard to what ratings or weights are, and follow the guidelines Forrest is talking about there in terms of highlighting just 3 or 4 factors that are especially important in terms of your recommendations. Now, Forrest, if we move on to the competitive profile matrix, the Excel template, as Forrest has developed the Excel template, many students are using that. How does the Excel template handle the competitive profile matrix? It also handles the external factor evaluation matrix, but on the CPM, Forrest, how?
Well, on the CPM, the template is set up to enter 12 critical success factors, and the template already has 12 entered for you. Some of these may include price competitiveness, financial position, financial ratios, and so forth. I suggest that you change these 12 to ones that are more pertinent to your company. If you're Delta Airlines, for example, you'll be comparing yourself against American Airlines and maybe Emirates based in the UAE. And let's change these factors to things that are specific to the airline industry. For example, what about airline miles? What about seats on the airplane? What about baggage fees? What about on-time arrival? It's better to compare United, American, Delta on these factors than the canned ones provided in the template.
Yeah, that's a great point. So on that competitive profile matrix, you need to have at least 1 rival firm there, and have your weight column obviously needs to sum to 1, and your ratings this time are going to be 1 to 4, 1 being a major weakness, 4 being a major strength. And in terms of delivery for us with the CPM, how should students handle that?
Well, first off, it's important not to rate each company the same rating. So if we're comparing 3 different companies, make sure you rate 1 on a 4, 1 a 2, and 1 a 1. Don't give them all 3s or all 2s. And when presenting, once again, look at the weight column and focus on the weights you've identified as being the most important. And talk about how your presentation is going to proceed and how you're going to improve upon areas of weakness for your company.
Absolutely. So when presenting the competitive profile matrix, again, as with the EFEM, Pave the way for your recommendations. That'll be a key part in terms of delivery, because typically only 15 minutes, a max of 20 minutes is allowed for teams in presenting their case analysis. Thank you for joining Forrest and I today as we talked about the Chapter 3 concepts, the EFM and the Competitive Profile Matrix. We invite you to visit the author website right there given on the board. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon on another segment.